Hello there. You are listening to Advancing Ideas, the Cultivators Community Podcast. Here we share real stories of real people making their ideas happen in big companies. My guest is Todor Milkov, a creative visionary and entrepreneurial leader with a unique blend of more than 20 years of experience in sales,
Wow.
marketing, and market access in healthcare, who's never believed in standard corporate initiatives and has a slightly different approach to developing innovative culture from that of most leaders. So, welcome, Todor.
Thanks for having me. Excited to have this conversation.
I was super happy to meet you the first time that I joined the Cultivators community, and there are so many amazing people, and you were definitely one of them. And I just can't wait to
I
learn
think you're
even
far
more
too
from you.
kind.
That's exactly how it is. People don't know this. Our people that are very humble, but yeah, that's exactly how it works in this community. And tell me one thing about you that I can't find on your LinkedIn profile.
On my LinkedIn profile, actually, most of the personal things that define us as people, and maybe leaders and professionals are not on LinkedIn, and maybe this is a pity. So the thing that you can't find on LinkedIn, I'm married with three kids, a parrot, and a dog. So these are not the things that you normally find on LinkedIn. And we've been discussing this thing maybe a month ago with a friend of mine who has been sharing the successful story of his son. And actually, I was asking myself and him why we're not sharing. He said, "Okay, maybe that's a professional platform. That's not the right place." But actually, that's a great story because it helps us you know, project other things that we have in our lives, which are even more important sometimes.
It's interesting that you've told about this because for me personally, every time I meet someone, I try as much as possible avoid talking about professional stuff.
Mm,
I
mm,
really want to know someone as a human because if we click on a human level, we can continue from there. But we might
exactly.
click on a professional level, but then we're totally different. We won't work. It won't be. So yeah, and that's a crucial part of every person. And
Absolutely. And it's a crucial part when we talk about trust, because trust is defined by who you are as a person and what you can do. And these things are very important to build trust in others or distrust. So, of course.
it's always hard to choose a favorite kid, but who
Yeah.
you like more, parrot or a dog?
Well, I have to be honest. The dog is closer to my heart. The parrot is a little bit more entertaining and interesting in from other aspects. So it's an interesting creature, very intelligent. But
A
the
good
dogs is our family's favorite.
a parrot, a good person to talk to. So, what was the first time that you felt you've influenced somebody's professional or personal life?
um, Talking about professional life, maybe even in the early stages of my career, because I was fortunate enough to join a great company and start working on a great project, which was a great success, quite innovative. And maybe that defined also my way forward as a professional. But the focus of this project was not only to deliver results for the company, but to enable our people do their job. And basically, my success was directly linked to their success. So basically, it influenced many people from this company, and I guess that's the first thing, the first moment maybe, or I can recall right now as you ask me, when I felt like I'm influencing those guys' professional lives. And not only because if you're doing well professionally, normally you should do well in your personal life. Although we have this discussion around work-life balance, but maybe that's a separate story.
If it even exists, I feel like there are so many conversations that work-life balance doesn't exist, that it's
It's a
something
matter
that's,
of discipline.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, what is your approach to develop an innovative culture?
Well, it evolved over the years. Obviously, I joined an innovative company right after the university almost. Then I started working on a quite innovative project. So I'm pharmacist by training, and strangely enough, I joined a company working on the first digital project in pharma back then, which was almost 20 years ago, which was not a traditional way to enter the corporate world by that time, because most of my friends and colleagues were becoming sales representatives. I became a project manager of the first digital pharma project. And many people were telling me, "You're crazy. What is this all about?" So, and over the years, I've been trying to generate and advance new ideas by myself and engage people. But over the years, I realized being by yourself, the sole driver, is not enough. And I, as a leader and growing as a leader and a manager, I should do something to influence the overall culture of the company, because it's not about me, but it's about all the other people. But because I'm confident and being a member of the cultivators communities, there are other people who are also passionate about um, generating and advancing and working on new ideas. And I've been thinking, what can we do differently? I've been always, I would say, annoyed by the way big companies approach new ideas and new thinking, because we all always talk about creativity and innovation, and ideas are the fuel of innovation, and creativity is about generating ideas. It's not about painting pictures, or at least not always. Um, but the way big companies approach this reminds me of the collection process managed by the governments. You receive an email, they're asking with a deadline to submit your best ideas. And there are people, and many people are submitting their ideas. And okay, I will share my ideas, because this is a way of sharing part of the value you've created with the company, which supposedly will create more value for this company. And then you submit your ideas, and normally after that nothing happens. And it's almost like, sometimes people, when you're paying your taxes, and I'm not suggesting people should not be paying their taxes, because this is very important and I have to highlight this, but sometimes you feel that you're sharing part of your value, that the value you've created, but you're not confident that the governments are using it the right way. And it's the same way with the ideas. I'm sharing my ideas, but what happens next? Or you're drawn into a room, attending a workshop, you're posting notes on the walls, you're generating ideas, and someone collects them, and then normally nothing happens. And this is discouraging people. And I think this is one of the these approaches, or this approach, generally speaking, is blocking the process of internal value creation, corporate entrepreneurship, whatever you call this. And we thought, okay, we need to do something differently. And this is what we worked on a couple of years ago with my last company, my previous company, actually. And we decided, okay, we need to define a process and a place where people who are passionate about taking action on new ideas can be supported. And we created this platform where people can start working on specific ideas and specific projects. It's almost like a project management tool and a safe space where you can learn and advance. And the other good thing about it was, or at least in my perspective, you're not learning about something abstract or working on an abstract idea. You're working on something you should be genuinely caring about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we wanted to focus on the process and supporting people to advance their ideas.
I'm a big fan of South Park movie, and it's super
Mm,
fun, and yeah, it's like has a little bit of a crazy level of humor, but it was one episode with gnomes, and
hmm.
they collected underpants, and
Yeah,
so it's like collecting underpants, second step question mark, third step profit. It feels like pretty much the same, in
yeah.
collecting ideas. So collecting ideas, then question mark profit. So what is this missing step? Like what to do next after you've collected ideas, after you've gathered those people, how to make it work.
You should support them in many different ways to advance their ideas, at least to help them reach certain level. Even if they fail with those ideas, at least they will learn something and they should see that something's happening. And one of the very important elements, we did this internal study, because that's another topic that is very interesting and close to my heart. What drives happiness in workplace? And
Hmm.
normally you think about jelly bones, jigsaw tables,
Cookies. Yeah.
cookies and stuff like that. But what is making people feel happy in the workplace or good in the workplace is to be together, to achieve something, and to be heard and see that something's happening. And this was staying at the core of the idea that we were advancing, because this was also an idea in itself. It was a project that was supposed to create this place and space where people can be supported in their next steps, because we inspire people to take action, but then there is no place or space where they can continue safely at, advancing their ideas. And this is something important, because it's not about collecting ideas. It's about and taking them from the people who generated those ideas. It's about when you have a certain idea, you identify this idea, and then support these people to a certain level, to advance these ideas. And you can hear so many stories about people who were having ideas in their workplace, and then they left, and then they make these ideas happen elsewhere. And this is something that, and this is a way of losing, value from within the company.
What was the main challenge you faced while working on this project?
So there were so many challenges. The first challenge was to maybe to not even to get supporters, because the internal selling amongst few people was not that difficult, but it was a first crucial step. And this is something that people should be doing in the very beginning. You should not try to do this alone, not even only in the companies you work for, but even in the outer world. If you decide to become an entrepreneur, you should find supporters. It's not about doing this thing alone.
Yeah.
Then the next big challenge was selling it to the upper management. So you should receive this kind of this is this cultivator slang, a permission slip. You should be allowed to do this, and this required a little bit of discussions. And of course, this project required funding, and I felt like we did it with you know a very decent, or not it's not the word decent, but with a small amount of money. Yeah.
How to get this buy-in from management?
Of course, you should always try and link. I mean, you should try and link it to the corporate strategy and how this supports the overall goal of the company. That's the first important step. Why is this important to us as a company? And there was this good momentum. I was fortunate enough at this time, that there was a good momentum, and there was a hype about generating and advancing ideas generally in the company. And it was a coincidence,
Hmm.
but we were maybe lucky enough to have this happening at the even high in the headquarters, so that we were allowed to do this in a small company in a small country like Bulgaria.
It reminds me very much the thing that I'm trying to always do with the communities I'm working with. Because if there is a community around the product or around the company, yes, definitely. First goal of the community is to bring value to its community members, but it's still part of the company. So
Yeah,
it really has to be aligned with business goals, and
absolutely.
it has to also help to company reach business goals. And it's possible. It's possible to, you know, create these values for people while also helping to grow the companies. And I totally understand what you are talking about. So you had a lot of challenges. So you told just a few of them. And did you
That was
have
only the beginning.
did you have any setbacks?
um, I mean, there were pushbacks, which in itself is a setback, but not some major ones, to be honest. A setback was when we started. Basically, it was really the actual execution phase of the project is how you transfer people's excitement by from engaging them as a pre-launch of this project, then into engaging them into a real work. And a setback is how you you make these new ideas um, or new project as part of the normal job, because a setback is to make the company believe that this is part of the normal job.
Yeah.
And that's one of the major challenges, I would say, because people are having their daily work and their targets and normal way of delivering results. And when it goes outside the normal way of delivering results, then it becomes a challenge. It's a challenge primarily.
I had a previous conversation, a previous podcast, and uh, it was Justin who told me that a huge part of what he is doing, why it's possible to make those changes, because it's part of his
Yeah,
day-to-day job,
yeah.
and it's not like something that he's doing on top. So he did it on top in the beginning,
Mm,
but then it became a part of the job. And I'm curious how to for example, for someone who is doing things, for someone who has an idea, who's working on this, who is getting buy-in, even got buy-in from management, and like
mhm.
receive this green light, yeah, please go do. How to tell to leaders, how to tell to managers that, hey, I'm doing this not just for myself. Here is how it influences the company. I want to make it part of my day-to-day job. How to make it?
Um, Maybe there is no one way to make this happen, and maybe I even haven't found the way how to make this happen. It's if you really want it, and if this is something that is making you feel good and it's something that is you're passionate about and you believe in, you will find a way. Otherwise, I'm not sure that this is something you should try and do.
Yeah, it sounds like a pet project. I'm working with freelancers, and they are usually doing the freelance stuff, and then almost everyone has something that they are doing in their free time. Like building some tool
Mm,
or
mm.
coding something or creating music or whatever. And yeah,
And
like
it is actually.
it's a pet project. Yeah, and
Mm,
it's I didn't think about this, because it's always like how I can find a way, how I can include other people, how I can find allies, etc. But yeah, it's exactly as you're telling. If you're really passionate about it, you'll find a way. So I
mm.
fully agree with it. And if you had started working on this program now, what is one thing you would have done differently?
Well, yeah. I started working on this program project, whatever you call it, in a single company. Now I'm thinking, how can I use the same approach and concept for a cross-company collaboration, or even within a community that I'm uh, being part of? So how can we use this kind of same approach to attract people from different companies working on specific projects and ideas that are not necessarily separate or not related to their daily business, but even how we can. It's part of the value exchange between those companies. This is something that I would do differently, not focusing on a single company in a single country.
I have
And there are
this
so many reasons behind this.
I have this additional question when you told that you want to work with different companies. And
Mm,
what I see in many industries and in people who are working in different companies, they see each other as competitors. And
yeah,
it takes a lot of time, trust, and building a safe space for
yeah,
people to understand that we are not really competitors. We are working in the same sphere and we can do things better together. So do you have, or maybe you've had some kind of challenges making people to understand that, hey, we are not competitors, we are
oh yeah,
collaborators?
yeah. Within the pharmacy industry, or pharmaceutical industry, we have been experiencing this on a daily basis. I have been experiencing this on a daily basis. So basically, yeah, it's really difficult to convince people that sometimes there are common goals even at industry level that will have a positive effect on the entire industry. But it's sometimes about making trade-offs. It's not always about I want everything, you know, because this is the normal thinking of the corporate world. It's all about me and my company, which in most cases is true. But there are situations where you have to go outside your, internal corporate thinking.
It sounds like creating a family because
Yeah,
different people connect with different goals, with a different understanding of the world. And if no one will ever go to some compromises, what kind of family it will be? So
exactly. And now we're having this kind of a challenge. I wouldn't say it's s- m- something more than a challenge within, a cluster or a community that I'm working with right now. How to convince people that there are areas and ideas where we can work together rather than competing with each other.
it's like, there is a sales technique when you selling the bright future. So it sounds like pretty much the same. Even though that there are communications, there are conversation, you still have to use sales techniques sometimes.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
fun. So if someone wants to advance and make their ideas happen, what are the three smallest actionable steps to take?
Well, communicate and share your ideas with someone and receive feedback, whether they do really understand what is this all about. Attract allies and not try to do it by yourself. And there is something that I really like when you're trying to, it's about taking action because this is and breaking it down into small steps. Think about what's the first and easiest step you can do. Maybe that's even the first thing that you should do. I have an idea. What's the first and easiest thing I can do to make it advance a little bit?
Yeah.
So share your idea. Think about the first step, the easiest step you can take to make it to move the needle, so to speak, and look for supporters and allies who
Got
can
it.
help you.
Tother.
Because sometimes, people are afraid to share ideas, like someone will steal their idea. And it's also about mindset. In very few of the cases, your idea would be totally unique to the world, you know? And remember, there are very few things you can do alone.
As there is a saying that idea worth nothing unless it's been actioned,
Exactly, yeah.
brought to life. And Todor, I wish to have the sky is the limit, but time is the limit to our conversation. So the final question: name one book or podcast or person from whom you learned the most.
Wow, that's a difficult question. I normally I don't like the most and the best, to be honest. I have learned from so many people, but um, when it comes to advancing new, because that's the topic, here. When it comes to advancing new ideas, Steve Gargiulo's TED Talk was something that inspired me I wouldn't say many years ago, and kept me inspired for a long time and made me believe that these things are possible within the corporate world. And actually, this was one of the first things that made me really advance my idea.
What is the best way to connect with you?
The best way and the way, obviously, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm not a big social media guy, to be honest. But yeah, you can easily find me on those. Or through the cultivators community, of course.
Got it, Todor. Thank you so much for openly sharing your cultivator's journey. And it's such a valuable experience for all the change makers in the world who want to make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. And cultivators community is my favorite community.
And see you in the cultivators community.
Absolutely.